All right. Well, welcome back to the Martin Take. Brendan and me got our pre-laughter jitters out, so it's all seriousness from here on out. But hey,
Okay.
welcome back to another episode of the Martin Take. On for today, as always, we have another great artist. That's going to be some hot takes today. There's going to be some hot takes from this artist, and I will get into that a little bit later. But the artist we're covering today is Radical Face. Radical Face is an electric folk singer band from Jacksonville, Florida. A bit of a smaller artist. We've done quite a bit of a smaller artist on this show because it's a pretty niche genre that folk and alt is in. It's a singer songwriter. Only band member Benjamin Cooper. He's basically the only person. I think if he's toured, I think he's had some other people join him, but as a whole, he's the singer songwriter, does all the instruments for the most part. Interesting thing about the name Radical Face. Did you look up, Brendon, anything on how he named the band Radical Face?
Yeah, I did spend a little time looking at things, but I'll let you tell that story.
I'll digress. So, Brendan, you chime in here because I don't have a whole lot on it. But basically, he was looking at a poster and he saw the name Radical Face. He's like, that's a good name. I'm going to name my band that. Turns out, if you're into the plastic surgery world at all, radical face is actually a term for plastic surgery. And it's radical something
Well, it
face.
was yeah, to interject to expound on that. It was just a flyer. So what I realized, it was just radical facelift. So I think it was
Mm-hmm.
just like
Yeah.
tagline or like a flashy thing to get you.
So it was an interesting thing, but yeah, that's how he got his name. But it's an interesting name.
Yeah.
It's kind of an interesting term for his music style, but we'll get into that here. So transitioning to his style, and
Yeah.
I'm gonna talk here. This is an interesting topic, guys. There's absolutely nothing interesting about his style. End of statement.
Okay.
He has one singular style, not just for one album, not just for one song, but every single song, every single album, every single stuff sounds exactly the same. He's extremely one-dimensional in keeping his style literally to one sound, which I think that's why he's not as popular as he could be. He's very, very niche. You're either gonna love him or hate him. But we can digress here a little bit, Brendan. Here, but actually, his
Yeah.
style is he's electrical folk, which I think describes him pretty well. He's heavier, much heavier on the folk side, with the
Yep.
electrical maybe like a fourth of what he would be. He's like 3/4, 75% folk, 25% electrical. There's my math for today. But yeah, very interesting. Brendan, let's hear something from you because I'm not a huge fan of Radical Face. Going into this episode, is he a top 5 artist for you? Where does he kind of rank in your music world?
Um. Yes. Very high. Very
Really?
high.
Okay.
It's not on my high on my frequent listening, but very high on my, whatever
Love for
this
him.
mood.
Yeah.
We'll get to mood listen later.
Oh
Yeah.
my gosh, that's gonna be interesting. Yeah.
Uh,
He.
but but to talk about like style and all of that, I do agree that he kind of hits one note, and
Yep.
then like you say, either that works for you, it doesn't. Uh, I'll say up front, it works very well for me. But like
Interesting.
I said, like
Yeah.
that's why he falls into. It's not a person that falls into my regular rotation all the time because there's it's kind of one thing. So if you're looking for that one thing, he's got it. He's got some range between
Yeah.
songs, but
Very
even
minute.
albums and
It's
all of
very
that,
minute.
like I'm very interested when we get to album ranking how that'll be because it's kind of yeah, I'll
You're
save
in
that
for a
conversation.
surprise. You're in for a surprise.
Yeah,
I have some surprising things.
yeah. So it's kind of there's kind of one thing to his style, which
Right.
yeah, I think it's fine. And I like I think it's an interesting sound to have the folk mixed with like electronic,
Yep.
and some rhythmic stuff. Like it's interesting. There's kind of an
So,
interesting thing going on.
so talking, yeah, kind of as you mentioned, it's called electrical folk 'cause I think it's the way you say it. But yeah, he's definitely more folk, which he has the right mix. Like he has the right
Hmm.
stuff. It's just so extremely one-dimensional that it's hard to actually like. Yeah, I think you said it well, and I said it too. You either love it or you hate it. Like there's no in between. There's not at all.
Yeah, I mean,
Um,
I think you can be indifferent to it because it's not offensive as far as the
it's not.
sound.
Yeah, it's very mute. Yeah. What's
But yeah,
interesting
yeah,
for my top five, I had to go with just the five most unique songs. That he actually had some dynamic range in there because man,
interesting.
this was abysmal to do this episode. I'll say that up front. It was
As
hard.
far as choosing, or you didn't like the music,
So I'm
or
gonna give some
both.
pre-context before we get into this,
Okay.
and then we're gonna switch to albums here. But just so you know, when I do an artist, typically I get it down to like 20 songs. I have a really hard time narrowing it down to my top 15, and a really hard time getting my top five. I had an extremely hard time making a top five in this
Interesting.
episode. I
Okay.
struggled to get five songs. Now I do have five good songs that I actually really do enjoy, but I have five. My number six song I enjoy. Then I have every single song as eh and eh.
Yeah.
All right, we
Yeah. I
digress.
get that. Yep.
All right, so I'm not
Interesting.
hating. I'm gonna say this up front on the episode, so if anyone's listening, they can kind of understand. I'm not hating on Radical Phase. He has some really good music. There is some good music he has. It's not for me, and his style is so niche. It's so niche that it's like it's hard for me to fall in love with it. But he's very talented, very
Yeah.
great singer. His voice is phenomenal. Music as well. Music is well written there. So yeah, great stuff. But let's move on to albums here, Brendan. And
Yeah.
okay, do you want me to talk first? I have a I have a
Um.
thing. I have a thing I need to
Yeah.
talk
Talk
about.
if you're not gonna just have an easy way to
Okay.
rank things,
Okay.
then
All
talk
right.
about it because I have a lot of stuff to talk about. Well,
All
like
right.
to talk about with you on this. So
Don't
yeah,
just
let's
don't
hear
get
it.
too preachy
Okay.
on me.
All right. We'll see.
Um, all right. So Brendan, sometimes in your top 15, you kind of categorize things weird. You're like, well, this song is like
Yep.
this, and this song is like this. You know how you kind of do that for
Yep.
certain
Yep.
times. So I'm doing the same on this episode for the albums. I'm sorry to do this, but
No
I
way.
was unable to rank the albums. I didn't rank them at all.
Yeah.
They're all tied for
Okay.
blah.
I'll say I'm fine with that, but probably for different reasons. So
So
wait, did you say as blah?
blah BLH.
Yeah. Yeah.
Now,
Yeah. 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 Yep.
one caveat. I do have one thing ranked number one for the albums though.
Okay.
The EP Therapy is by far
Good
their
choice.
best. So it's interesting. They have six albums. I'm gonna go ahead and rank them here, Brendan, and I'll let you go off in your quest
Yep.
to preach the word here. But six albums, six albums here. The first one that came out, The Junkyard Chancellor, 2003. Second album, Ghost from 2007. Now, here's where it's interesting. I love that he did this. This is very unique, and I think where he's even more niche. So he did three albums, all called the Family Tree, but with three different segments, all three different albums. So the first one is the Family Tree, The Roots, like comma The Roots, 2011. Then it was his fourth album was the Family Tree, The Branches, 2013. And then his fifth album was the Family Tree, The Leaves, 2016. And then his final album was Missing Film from 2018. And we'll talk a little bit about the Family Tree albums there. And then he also had a re-release of Ghost in 2019, I think. But then he has
Hmm.
tons of singles and EPs, Brendan. Unreal amount of singles and EPs. More than hardly any artist I've ever seen in my life, actually.
Well, yeah, a lot of artists have lots of singles, but they usually end up on albums.
Right.
And
Yeah.
his
And his don't.
Don't really.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So interesting things here. I have things to say on all of them, but I'm gonna kind of let you take
Okay.
lead here and kind of let's go down through. Let's hear if you have them ranked. We'll hear how
Yeah.
you have them ranked. Then let's go down through them in chronological time release order for you.
Yeah. So just to talk about some things. So first off, I didn't even necessarily listen to everything because
Oh,
I
really?
listened
Okay.
to him. So my approach to this artist was a little different because I started trying to listen to the albums and I
Right.
was like, I know the songs I
It's too
know
much.
and this is kind of
Yeah.
hard. So it was a day or two that I did this mostly. I just hit the play button at the top of his art, like him as an artist. So it just like shuffles all his music or whatever. And I just did it that way. And when a song came on that I liked, I was like, oh, I'll save this. And I did it that way because it was just too difficult to listen through each entire album because, like you say, they all have a similar sound. So, like, to even get differentiation was very difficult. But to that, also then the EPs and stuff, I went through most of that, or
Yeah.
Hidden Hollow and Therapy, I know well. But then, like, all the singles, I knew there were some of those I probably hadn't heard before, but I just didn't even bother going through all of that because I had, what I assumed would be my top music already. So
Right.
it didn't feel that crucial. Then one album you missed. So what was the first album you said?
The Junkyard Chancellor.
Okay, I never even listened to that album. I'll have to look that
Really?
up sometime.
Okay.
I saw that in my reading today because it didn't pop up for me in the list of albums.
Really? I had to.
Because it was released. Or go ahead.
I went through their Wikipedia page and found that. So
Oh,
it
okay.
actually might not have been because I actually think I missed it as well. I would have to go back and check. I went through so much music in
Yeah,
the last like
it doesn't
3
show up in
weeks.
Apple Music
Okay.
under him. So I think he like made that before Radical Face existed, and then
Probably
it
like
was
a self-release before he was on the
yeah.
label.
So something like that happened where I'm not even sure where it is. But then you missed one album, which is The Family Tree, The Bastards from 2015.
So
Did
that
you
was
come across that?
well. So technically, that's an EP. That's where the difference is. That was actually released as an EP, not an album.
Right, it was. Well, it was listed as like 3 EPs that basically make a full-length album, but it is, yeah, technically an EP.
So the reason that actually didn't have, so I knew about that. Now that one, the Family Tree, the Bastards, that actually didn't have enough songs to be released as an album. So I think that's why he released it as an EP in 2018, 2019 or something. That when that came out. So
I think that was before Leaves.
oh was
from
it
my
before?
reading on
Okay,
Wikipedia.
Okay.
That was because it was released as 3 separate EPs. He like did the first one as like he released singles, and then that became an EP, and then he did like 2 more EPs, and then released the whole thing as a compilation.
Right.
Well, so the other ones might have came out earlier, but as a compilation in 2015, prior to the release of Leaves in 2016. So it's very complicated.
Yeah. So the reason I didn't include that because they had. I think I went off of Wikipedia for this list. I forget, but they had the Family Tree, the Roots, the Branches, the Leaves, those 3 separate albums as actual albums, and then the Bastards one that was actually released as an EP. So I think there's some differential there. But can we talk a little bit about? Or sorry, were you done ranking them? I
Yeah.
wanted to talk a little bit about
Yeah. So
dynamics here.
Right. So we have a little all over the place there. But so what I'm going to do for ranking is, so I have a ranking by album, but I'm going to just destroy that because of what we're talking about and
Right.
the way you went as well. So I'm just going to say the whole Family Tree as a set is number 1, and
Okay.
I don't
Yep.
think there's enough. I mean, Roots is probably my most favorite, but they all have a similar sound, so
Yep.
they all kind of feel
Yep.
of one.
Right. Yep.
So I would just say that's kind of all one thing. Ghost is a very strong number 2.
Yep. I feel that.
And then yeah, again, they're all pretty good. So then yeah, Hidden Hollow or Therapy, I'm trying to decide. Yeah, they're both good. I would maybe put Therapy ahead of Hidden Hollow, but they're pretty close. And then Missing Film isn't, I forget if there's any of the songs have words, but it's mainly just music.
What makes it
So that's kind of just a different thing.
What makes it tough for us here is typically we actually do just albums. We don't do EPs. I feel like Radical Face is one of the first artists we've done
Yeah.
where it's like we have
Well,
to include EPs.
We did that a
We didn't
little
even
bit
talk
with
about
Matt
that.
Mason.
We did that with Matt Mason, but yeah, actually that's true. We did. This is very unique. Yeah, Matt Mason is our it's the episode that's coming out next, and then this one, and it's the first 2 artists we've done where it's like normally we don't really need to talk about EPs as much, but these are 2 artists that it's like rarely EP focused, which is not very
Yeah.
normal, and it's very unique for an artist, and even more niche because Matt Mason is pretty niche, and Radical Face is the most. I'm gonna say it. This is a quote that goes on your wall sometime in the future.
Okay.
Radical Face is the most niche artist I think I've ever seen in my life. They're so
I
niche.
I
It's crazy.
I disagree. I think it's I mean, I could be entirely wrong because I haven't looked at numbers or anything.
So
But I feel like what was I forget what band that is now. I thought that we've done some other bands that were in the same realm as this. Because I even didn't realize really that he isn't a full band. Like he's mostly it's
himself.
mostly a solo project. Because it feel like the music feels like a full band and stuff a lot of the time. So I don't know.
One quick thought here before we move on here. You know how like a normal artist will maybe have 1 EP, maybe 2. He has 15 EPs.
Interesting.
He has 15, 1-5 EPs. So now some of them are
Is
the
that
Bastards.
on Wikipedia?
It is. Yeah, the Bastards is broken out to
Okay.
4 EPs, so that counts as 4 of them. But just very unique.
Yeah, because I think
very near you
I think
styling.
really only 2 or 3 of those are like their own standalone music. So I think a lot of this does end
Some
up
of
other
them
places.
would be, yeah. Anyways,
Oh, and-
moving on here. I kind of
interesting.
like
Yeah.
I like your ranking here. The Family Tree. Yeah, those are good albums. I have a lot of things I could spoil for my top 5 here.
Uh-huh.
But
Well, how do you feel
Yeah.
about the Family Tree versus Ghost? Because those are really the
Yeah,
only
yeah. So
album-y albums.
I like the way you broke that down. Yeah, I would put Family Tree all together, and then I would put Ghost. So it's tough. I would probably put Ghost at number one, Family Tree at two.
Okay.
I would, if I actually had to rank them, had to give you something, I would do Ghost number one, The Roots number two, and then The Branches and the Leaves. So like one, two,
Okay.
three,
Yep.
four, and then Junkyard Transfer and whatever Missing Film. Now, was Missing Film the acoustic album only? If
It
I
was yeah. It
remember
was
right.
only music. From my looking up of things,
Yeah.
because I had only heard a song or two from that. It was said that he released that as because he released it as whatever you call it, like available to use because he wanted
Oh,
to
right.
let
Oh,
filmmakers and stuff use it, stuff
yeah.
like that.
I like the
Yeah.
term missing film. Yeah, so cool. All right. Well, moving on here. Did you want to talk any more about it? It's what's hard. Normally, we can break down an album, and be like, well,
Yeah.
this is where this album differentiates. Dude, there's no way. I can't.
Yeah.
I can tell you the Brutes, Branches, and Leaves and Ghosts are all did the same album. You know.
Yeah.
So let's move on here. All right. So moving on to our top five here, Brendan, and this is gonna be unbelievably unique. I'm stoked for this top five. I really am. I'm actually this is probably the top five I'm most stoked for because I actually freaking love my top five songs and I
You have
hate
to
everything
rank
else.
your top fives.
Okay. Ooh, that's
Whoa.
interesting. We'll have to do an
Okay.
end of the year episode for that. Ranking our
Yep.
top fives from the years past. All right, Brendan. Here, how many do you think we're gonna have lined up in our top five? How many songs are we
Two.
gonna have? All right, that's what I had as well. Actually, I had two.
Yep.
So I'm gonna say this. And I think this might ruin it. I wanted to get the number before I read this statement that I've written down. But going into my top five, I only have one song in my top five that's from any of the albums. All the songs are from EPs, except for one.
Oh, interesting. Okay. Yep.
So that might narrow it down there for you. But let's kick it off. Dude, every time, man. I
Oh,
promise you,
actually, that'll really narrow it down. Interesting. Okay.
every time we do a top five, I still get giddy. We've been doing this show for a year and a half now. Started in April 2022, and I still get giddy every time we do our top five. I'm excited. We don't tell. I think we've talked about this quite in the show quite a bit, Brendan here, but we don't share much information going into the actual recording, hardly at all actually, and it's one of those things where I still get excited to see what you have because I appreciate your music tastes and it is interesting to see our different dynamics and the way we think through things. So we think through things very differently, and I can't wait to hear your mood listens.
Yeah.
Without further ado, let's have you go first. What's your number five, Brendan?
Yeah. So for my number five, I have a song from one of the EPs, Hidden Hollow, and that song is "The Missing Road."
Time ticking in the back of my mind, 'cause I know what I'll find if I sit in place. So
Ooh. Oh. All
I
right,
feel like if you like EPs, that could be on there.
number 14. Actually, sorry,
Number-
that'd be number
oh,
nine.
wow.
Number 19. Number 19. My
Okay.
apologies.
Wow. So this is a fairly simple sounding song with subtle vocals, I would call it, which I think he does a fair bit. Often has these like quieter vocals. But I think the vocals and lyrics are very good in the song. He does a very good job with that. And there's kind of a like feeling of aimlessness, I would say, to this song, by like lyrics like I am what I am and I know what I know, but I don't know the way. So like kind of giving this like sense of, like knowing who you are as a person or something, but yet, or like feeling comfortable as a person, but yet not really knowing, what direction your life is going to take you and stuff.
Yeah.
And also talking about leaving, the people that you leave behind and that sort of thing. And so I think there's some interesting stuff in here. And that is something I'll briefly say that we don't have to talk about it more. With a lot of with all of Radical Faces music and with my top fives here, there's a good amount of importance to me in the like actual lyrics and at least the themes that are going on in the songs, if not like the actual storytelling that's going on, especially with when you get to the whole like family tree thing and all the like stories that are told through that.
I hope if you ever hear my name that it doesn't bring you pain. Just know that I know.
It is very interesting. That song is very toned down and tamed. I mean, like most of his songs, but it does have a
Yeah.
slightly different flavor than most what his songs would be. But no, it's a good song. Like I said, at number 19. Now, I will say, if you guys know me, I am extremely structured, and I will usually put my 6 through 15 list like that is the list. Dude, I have 58 songs ranked, and 7 through 58 they're not ranked. They're just kind of there. So I kind of put them as close as I could get, but basically, like, I had it at 19, could have been 50, could have been 10. I don't know.
Right.
So, yeah.
Yep.
Good song here. And Brendon, let's kick it to me. And this
Yeah.
one's going to be from the Therapy EP, and it's going to
Okay.
be Better Days.
I know right now it feels like hell, and nothing's going all that well. When it's always raining.
It's kind of a surprise for you, probably.
Yeah, I have to look at that one. That's a good one. I don't think it's even on my
So-
top 15.
This one is very not me. It is a very slow, and I actually don't even like the opening of the song. I don't even like the first minute of the song, actually. It's what I actually really like about the song is that the 40 seconds left. And one thing that I will say about Ben Cooper is he does so incredibly well with the piano. Incredibly well with the piano.
yeah.
So incredibly well that a lot of the songs I chose incorporate the piano at a different level that I actually really appreciate. And it's not actually 40 seconds left when the piano comes in on this song particularly. Don't need to do a timestamp. Don't worry about the edit. It just makes the song a really beautiful song that I really enjoy. It's really slow, which I like higher upbeat, more positive songs. And it's not a song that I would normally not like, but this is just a good one. A little bit more sentimental. But yeah, it's a great song. Really liked it. And it just beat out my number 6 song. And I'm not going to say my number 6 song because I think it's going to be in your top 5. So
Try to remind yourself that it's probably gonna take some time, but there are better days to
Okay.
find.
I digress. To your number 4.
Yeah. Yeah, well, I'll just say that it's a good song. It's slow, very slow. So
Very slow,
I'm
yeah.
very intrigued by the music you are choosing.
Yeah. It gets
but
better from here.
Okay, on to my number 4. I have The Ship in Port from Family Tree Leaves.
He said the ship in port is the safer one, but it's not the reason it was made.
Ship Port.
Yeah, I don't expect you to have this one. This is a song that over time has just built in meaning to me. Again, getting to lyrics and all of that.
I found it.
Okay, we're
57.
just deep, yeah,
57.
just deep in that list.
The last, second to last, yeah.
So this is a very light, cheery sounding song, I would say. And it kind of builds up throughout the song, especially towards the end. And there's what I would think of as pretty good like flow to the song as well, which is something that I will not like. I usually talk about flow. Flow is not near as important in Radical Faces music to me. Not exactly sure why, but anyway, there's some backing vocals of the oohs and stuff throughout the song that kind of have a cool sound to it and add a nice touch, as well as violin, which I think is in a good bit of his music and stuff, and I really appreciate that. Speaking to meaning of the song, I think it's cool how it like is talking about, or like I really like the especially the lyrics talking about a ship in port and the analogy of that, and how that actually being the song like that, like equating a ship in port to being safer there, but it actually is not built for that. You know, it's made for something else, and it's kind of those ideas is really cool. And there's some other stuff going on there. Again, talking about leaving the place you were at behind and how hard that is, but like that there's so much more beyond that, and that stuff is pretty cool to me.
Farewell to the chains we were born
Yeah, that's like an interesting song. It definitely picks up. I was just listening to that one again. And
Yeah,
it definitely picks
yep,
up
a lot
the
at the end.
end. But I will say the reason I had that song so low is it reminds me of a typical Radical Face song where it's very forgettable in my sense. I like your take on it.
Offended.
Well, I'm going to compliment you here real quick.
Okay.
I liked your take on it because you're diving more into the lyrics side of it, and I think he is a phenomenal lyric writer. I think he's very gifted in that sense. And I think like his music is so great. The thing I just don't like about his music is just so one dimensional, and that's where this song to me becomes one dimensional, is because it's so forgettable. It's the same song as 58 of the songs, unless you're listening to the lyrics, which is what you're doing here, which I think is really cool. And I've said it before, I'm not a lyric listener, so a lot of this stuff kind of goes over my head. So, but I'm also not a mood listener either. So, praise God.
Just a music listener.
I'm just a music appreciator. So Brendon, this song, I think you're gonna have in your top 5.
Okay.
It is "We're on Our Way" from the Always Gold EP album from 2012.
Show your hands if you need a new coat of paint. If your bones are now heavy things.
Not on my list.
Okay. I was actually kind of surprised. I figured it'd be there. But yeah, this song is actually opposite to my number 5 song. I really like the opening with the clapping, piano, tambourines, again with the piano. Man, he's just so well with the piano. It's a great song, and it's one of the only songs that actually is really high energy. So this one actually has probably the most dynamic range out of all of his songs that he does. And I really liked it and really went into my top 5. So yeah, one of those really I enjoy, and it's a lot more higher energy than 99% of his songs. Literally 99%.
Yeah, tomorrow I might wake up nice and clean. And I might believe the things I said I didn't mean.
I don't know if I've ever actually listened to that song.
What? Man, you're missing out on the best songs.
Yeah, it's interesting.
Do you
it's
like
very,
it?
It's yes, I do like it. I'd have to listen to the whole thing a little bit more, but kind of has like a muddy sound to it. It's kind of
So
it's kind of
it
cool.
is interesting
Like
with your approach to this episode. I'm going to take a time out here before we go to your number 3.
Yeah.
But every episode we've done, or I'm going to say for me, I don't know about you, but I think this is true for you too as well. But every episode we've done, we've gone through all their music at least once. Like I do. I went through every painstakingly. Took me 3 weeks to get through it. Every one of their songs. And I got through them, and I found some good ones. Like I'm going to get in here in my top 5. But like you said you'd never heard the song before? Is that true?
Yeah, well, because on the I've never really listened to the Always Gold EP because there's only like one or two songs, like there's only, or like that, like the Always Gold song is on here a bunch, and I've know that song from the Family Tree album.
I went through and added all 15 EPs to the playlist, and I listened to every single. I added all the albums in every EP, so yeah, it took a while to get through.
Yeah.
All right, well, untime out. Let's see your number 3 song.
Yep. So for my number 3, I know you will not have this.
Oh wow. Okay.
It is Black Eyes from the Family Tree Roots.
When you last left me, my blood was in a jar, and you kept it on your mantelpiece. I couldn't count on anyone to stand there.
Oh, Black Eyes. Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
Number 51.
Okay. I think even if you listen to this song now, I don't think you'd be that into it, and I will explain why. So I think this is a like dark, eerie sounding song, with kind of a like rapid, unsettling rhythm is how I'd describe it.
I do remember this song, and I consciously like most of these songs. I didn't mean to interrupt you here, but I wanted to comment because this is hilarious about what you're talking about. Most songs I kind of put in, I'm like, all right, that's about there. This song, I literally consciously remember. I hate this song. It's going to the bottom, and I put it down there. That is so funny, interesting.
Yeah,
Sorry, continue on.
No, I'm really not that surprised. Yeah, I like the kind of dynamic it has with that different tone, with that kind of, you shouldn't like the song in some ways.
Right.
I think like the complexity of this, right. The complexity of the sound is kind of cool. And that's what I like about it. Like musically it was sticking out because most of these, I made a top 20 from my like general listening, and they were all songs I knew and knew well. But this is one that I didn't really expect, like was one that I remembered that well. But I thought the sound, again, compared to the rest of his music, kind of had a little more of a unique sound. If you dig into the lyrics, it has, just a very kind of dark themes of, I don't know, like there's I don't know what, like, from listening to the song, I'm not really sure the context of the song, but there's an idea of someone, having anger or malice towards someone else for whatever reason, and that's kind of the whole song's thing, is just kind of this cool, like, it's not just, I'm upset or I'm angry at you, but this kind of like almost cold calculating type feeling of like, I've decided I'm angry and I have problems with you and I'm going to do something about it.
Right.
And so that flows through this song. So it's a kind of complicated song for me feelings wise, like when I listen to it, but I think it's very unique and kind of has a very raw emotional nature to it, which, yeah, find fascinating.
All of the roads are one now. Each choice is the same. All the roads.
Interesting. Yeah, like I said, I consciously did not like. I don't like dark and heavy things. I am the opposite. I like light and happy things. So yeah, dark and depressing things, man, they really bum me out, and I really avoid them at all costs.
Yeah, and that's definitely what this is. I am interested now.
We might be
going
stretching.
On to,
yeah, we might be stretching for our top 2 lineup here. You know what I mean?
So
Is that what
my
you're gonna
top
say?
2. Well, yeah, my top 2 are the most likely for you to have, but by the way you've talked about things, I don't know that you actually have them.
I thought you were. I think you're gonna have my number 2 songs. I think I remember you talking about this one. Anyways, I digress. Here, my number 3, and this one you're either gonna have it at your number 1 or probably not at all. But it's "Welcome Home, Son." Ghost Anniversary Edition 2019.
Sleep, don't visit, so I choke on sun, and the days blur into one backs of
That is my number 2.
Sick. So, caveat for the listeners here: if you listen to Radical Face, he has "Welcome Home" as a song from Ghost 2007. This is "Welcome Home, Son" from the re-released album of Ghost that came out in 2019. So just a little bit of a differential there. This is "Welcome Home, Son," same basic song as "Welcome Home," but 12 years later. So not a surprise. This song is my top 5, and it's cool that you have a number 2. So we're gonna go back to back here. And I hope my number 2 songs are number 1. That'd be sick. The reason I put this at 3 and not 1, because this is like the only song I knew from Radical Face before we did this episode. And it's just overplayed. I think I've had this song in my library since it came out in 2019, and man, it's a good song. Overplayed. And I remember, what artist were we doing the other day, Brendon, where we had a similar song to this, and it was just like, it should be number 1, got overplayed, now it's like way in the back. I forget which artist we were doing.
Yes, we've had that more than once, but there was
it's
one
a pretty
just
common
recently.
thing. Yeah, I should go back and check what it was here, and I'll check while you're talking about it. But yeah, just an interesting song. I love this song. I just think, to me, for it to be number 1, I have to love it, and I'm just kind of like, let's move on. So yeah, great song though. I absolutely love the song, but yeah, I have it at number 3 there.
welcome
Yep. So yeah, it is my number 2, and obviously this is one of their most popular, if not their most popular song, and it was used in some different media and stuff. So it's also got around that way into more broader circles. But I think like as a song, it's a really good song because, getting to some lyrical type stuff, I think it's like an infinitely relatable song. Because about the idea of welcome home, and there's kind of that like a positive feeling to the song anyway, along with the complexity of the lyrics if you listen to lyrics, aren't so explicitly one way that you would have to interpret it one way. Like, it leaves room for you to kind of apply it to your life in whatever way you would. But I think just like there's a lot of these like family like themes in Radical Face's music, similar to how Manchester Orchestra, I think, did some of that, and some of I think it was one I was thinking of that kind of did some of this, where they pick more family themes than just love songs or whatever other generic type stuff.
Right.
But yeah, this whole song is great, and yeah, I think is a very, very solid song.
all my nightmares escape my head. Bar the door, please don't let them in.
Yeah, no, I think we're both having very similar feelings on it. All right. Well, kicking my number 2 song, and I'm really thinking you're gonna have this your number 1 here, but we'll see here. My number 2 song is "The Mute" from the album "The Branches" 2013.
Well, as a child, I mostly spoke inside my head. I had conversations with the clouds, the dogs, the dead. And they thought me broken, that my tongue was coated lead, but I just...
Interesting. I believe I have that at number 6. Yes, I
Really?
do.
Wow.
I was trying to decide what it was.
Dang,
There was one of
dang it.
those. Yeah, I threw it on as number 6. I was like, I really like this, but I don't think it's gonna make my top 5.
So, you're not gonna have my number 1 song then. That's for sure not.
Okay.
But yeah, the Mute is an absolutely beautiful song here,
Yes.
and the opening is actually sensational for me. They have the opening, the acoustic guitar on like the high end. Then what takes this song to the next level, kind of looking at it from like a musical standpoint, not necessarily from like a lyric standpoint, is at the 48-second mark. You have the guitarist on the high end going, but then the piano comes in on the low bass, and it just absolutely makes it absolutely like a perfect song. It just takes the next level. It just like it's coming in, and all of a sudden you have it, and just going. And what I was saying in the beginning of some of these songs here is that one thing that Ben Cooper does so well is he does so well with the piano, and this song is no exception. I actually had this as my number 1 song until this morning, and then I found another song that's just absolutely a killer song. And but yeah, this is a higher energy song, and the tambourine gets added in there. Just oh man, this is a great song, and I'm glad you had number 6. I wish you'd had it. I think it's a number 1 song worthy song. But one thing that differentiates you from me, I'm a higher energy. Don't really listen to the lyrics. You're more of like a what is the song saying to me type person. I think that's where a lot of our songs differ.
Yeah.
When our top 5. But yeah, just an absolutely phenomenal song that is 100% great, and it really makes the piano on the low end shine that I really enjoyed.
I packed my pillowcase with everything I owned. And in my head I said goodbye, then I was gone. And I set out on the heels of the unknown.
Yeah, that is an excellent song, and yes, I do love that song, and yeah, the flow and energy is all there for sure. So, yeah, so my number 1, I think it is a very worthy number 1, and I'm surprised you don't have a suspicion what it is because
Is it Always Gold?
yes, it is.
We were tight-knit boys, brothers in more than name. You would kill for me and knew that I'd do the same. And it caught me short.
Okay. Do you know what I had
'Cause,
number
like-
6? I had number 6 at Always Gold. I figured it
Okay.
was. Yeah.
Yeah, because it's like Always Gold and Welcome Home are like the two, to me, very noteworthy songs of his. And like I wasn't for a little bit I was trying to decide if I was going to put them on the top.
Right.
Because I was getting to the point of like, are these overplayed for me? But
Yeah.
I think they still are amazing songs. So Always Gold, I guess it has, I'm trying to think if it's more one note than Welcome Home or not, but they're similar in how good they are, but I think Always Gold just has a little bit of a higher high for me. And it takes like, if you play the full version of the song, it takes like a minute and a half for the actual singing to start. So it has a heavy like musical start. I think like the whole song is like 5.5 minutes or something. But it just has
It's almost 6. It's 4 seconds.
almost 6 minutes.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, it just has it's an excellent song with great energy, and again like a happier sounding song, and in this song there's themes of like brotherly like bonds and stuff. Like it's a song about two brothers and kind of their connection, and really to me caps off like the whole family tree like albums and all of that. And yeah, it's an excellent song, and just sounds amazing.
I was there when 3 months later you were standing in the door all beaten and tired, and I stepped aside.
So I had a feeling you were gonna have that at number 1, and that's why I didn't say my number 6 song. So I had Always Gold at number 5 this morning, and I switched it for Better Days. Good song. So just to be clear, my top 6 songs from Radical Face, really liked them. I put Always Gold at number 6. It's overplayed. I've heard it before. Not like it's more a little bit slower than some of these other ones, but good song. Everything else was just fine. Now my number 1 is a song, Brendon.
Which EP?
Therapy.
Therapy.
Are you gonna
Dead
guess?
Ends.
No, not even close.
Okay.
It is Hard of Hearing, Therapy EP 2019.
Another evening spent in the corners of my brain, where I wander off into the dark, and I close my eyes and hope the wolves won't follow me, but hope's hard of hearing.
Oh, well, that's what I should have said then, because that's the highest one I have ranked.
This song, all right, I'm going to go on a little bit of a tangent here, a little bit of rant. This song was the most surprising song I think I came across on almost any artist we've done. It kind of came out of nowhere. When I clicked on the song, listened to it, it was just like, bam, right away, this is the song. It was a little bit slower start, but dude, at the 27-second mark, and Brendon, I need you to put it in here.
Uh-huh.
I had to learn that the helping hand can be the scene that holds the knife. You know I'm not well, but I'm alright.
It's the electronic riff that goes through the entire song. So then it has the line, I know I'm not well, but I'm all right. This electronic riff that's right at that, and it's throughout the whole song, and oh my word. It is an absolute perfect sound. And this song has the right tempo, instruments, electronic sound. It just kind of combines into like a perfect song. And I talk about this quite a bit, where an artist my number one song usually about an artist is like kind of what takes the best things of an artist into what's their best song that kind of combines the music, the tempo, the flow, and the lyric writing all into like one song. And this song is it. And I feel like if you have a true appreciation, not for lyrics necessarily, because I'm not like a lyric listener, so I kind of go at songs at a different angle than what most people would. But this song is an absolute perfect song from that perspective, what takes everything from Ben Cooper and Radical Face and just kind of combines it. Just a beautiful melody. And it's a head bopper, as always, and it's one of my favorites I've actually ever heard. This song is absolutely great. That electronic riff, oh my goodness, it hits different. And then the next best line is towards the end of the song where, don't believe them when they tell you that the bird won't bite. It's an interesting lyric, but Ben Cooper's cadence is absolutely just phenomenal in the song. And not even a question my number one song. It just, the electronic riff, just that riff is just, I don't know if it's a guitar that's like tuned to a very specific like riff, or if it's just like a computer noise, but man, that is just absolutely perfect. So this song, unquestionable my number one by Radical Face. Every single song is not near as good as this. So this one, great, but now it's definitely a different style song as anything else he has. This is the most unique song he has, by far.
Interesting.
Love this song.
Yeah. That's a very good song. I have it at 11, by the way.
Oh, so you had it that high. Okay, so you actually had it that high. Okay.
Yeah, I had it higher than the one than Doubt and all of that. I was trying to decide which one I thought you would most likely have. And I actually have the alternate version of this one. He had released an alternate version of the album.
Okay.
And so I actually prefer the alternate version of this song slightly better, but both versions are very good. But yeah, that's a great song. There was a point when I was putting this list together where I had both the What's Hollow, the two EPs.
Let's go look at the rankings again.
Yeah, trying to pull it up quick. Hidden Hollow and Therapy.
Yeah. Yep.
I had songs from both of those pretty high up at first, and then it was like I had to make a decision because those two kind of have a certain sound, and then everything else has a different sound. And I mostly went the other way, except for the Missing Road from Hidden Hollow that I had at number 5.
Gotcha.
Yeah, no, excellent song. I'm glad. I mean, it's a perfectly fine song to have at number 1. And definitely has. It's very catchy, and like you said, like does a very good job of mixing that electronic sound in, which is pretty cool.
It's a little bit stronger. So this one's interesting because we talked about he's about 75% folk, 25% electronic. This one he switches where he's like 75 electronic, 25% folk. So yeah, great song here. But let's move on to our 6 through 15 list here, Brendon. And
yeah, this will be interesting.
So again, I just kind of put songs down. I'm sorry. I normally am a lot more structured in my life, as anyone who knows me will know that. But Brendon, let's go ahead and read your 6 through 15, and I'll read mine, and we'll go from there.
Yep. 6, The Mute. Then Ghost Towns. Sunlight, another one from Hidden Hollow. Excellent song. Baptisms from The Bastards, which, again, I think it's the only song that really stands out to me from that album. Then The Moon is Down. Hard of Hearing. Excellent. Holy Branches. From the Mouth of an Injured Head. Interesting name. Sleepwalking. That's an interesting song. You should go back and re-listen to that. Don't think you'll like it, but it's cool. And then Doubt at number 15.
We had one song that lined up in that, and it was actually Sleepwalking. I had a number 10.
Okay, nice. Oh, wait,
So-
so you actually do like that one. Okay.
Yeah,
cool.
that was a good one. Yeah. Wow. Yeah, I'm sorry. Yeah, number 6 is Always Gold. 7 is Reveries. Number 8, The Winter's Coming. 9, Sleepless Dream. That's a
Okay.
good one. 10, Sleepwalking, like we just talked about. 11, Severus and Stone. 12, Bad Blood.
Okay.
And 13, Eclippse with an extra P. 14, Echoes. And 15, Under the Same Sun. So literally only one, and that was Sleepwalking.
Interesting. What albums was that primarily from, or was that
a lot of
spread?
EPs? Eclipse was from an EP.
Okay.
I'm trying to think. I don't.
Was
have
that from
them
that
listed
like
here.
sun, moon, whatever thing?
Yeah, it had like sun with an extra N, then moon with an
Yeah.
extra N as well,
Yeah.
and then eclipse with an extra P. Yeah, so just good music. Again, like I didn't try super hard to rank these, so it's kind of what it is.
Yeah.
I'm surprised you didn't have Glory anywhere in those. Because
It was, so I have 20 on here.
Okay.
I had that one at 17.
Okay, I had it at 25. That's actually one of their more popular songs. We didn't talk about that one at all. Just wanted to quickly mention it as we
Yeah.
went here. Interesting episode 4. I know I came in with a lot of hot takes, but they're not really aggressive takes. I actually
It
really
wasn't that- it wasn't that hot.
it wasn't egregious towards him. I really do appreciate what he's done. If I would give him one thing, and we talked about this a bit, and this is the one thing I want to talk about here going into what's your mood or where do you listen to this artist, is that most artists will start at a place and then change their style as they go with each album. He has been dedicated to his style, and it's very admirable from that perspective. But all right, moving on here. Where are you, or what's your mood you are in when you're listening to this artist, Brendon?
It's kind of hard. So there's a couple of the songs I really like do make it into my general listening some, but as a whole, like I really enjoy going down this rabbit hole of like listening to just Radical Face. But where does that usually fall? I mean, it's usually a woods thing for me. Like if I'm hiking, if I'm gonna, well, it doesn't. I don't play music that often when I'm hiking, but if I'm hiking by myself and I have like an earbud in or something, or just walking out in nature, like this will be one of the bands I think of that, like, I'll think of more when I'm out in the woods than when I'm just playing generic alternative or pop or something like that.
Right.
So yeah, I think In the Woods is probably the easiest answer. And then there's also some real, like, it'll go into the feels listening, like if you're in the mood for just like reflection or something like that, like some of these will definitely come into that.
Interesting. Yeah, and this is kind of an interesting one for me because I don't think I'd ever listen to them. This is one, like, normally I'm like, oh yeah, 100%, I'll listen to this, this, and this. This is an artist that you chose to do, and I know we've been talking about doing it for a while. But I would say, like, my top 6 songs, I'll include, Always Gold and, the other ones, Better Days, Run Our Way, Welcome Home Son, The Mute, and Hard of Hearing. I will add those to a lot of my, like, loved playlists I will listen to pretty often, so I don't think I'm going to... I probably wouldn't. I don't have them. I'm never gonna be like, I'm gonna go listen to this artist. I'm never gonna do that. But if I will listen to the songs as they come across some of these playlists that I do have. But no, good stuff. Absolutely liked it. But yeah, would definitely not listen to music just straight up to.
But would you go to their concert?
So that is a great question. Thanks for asking that, Brendon. That is our next question. Would I go to the concert? And the answer is no. That is going to be an absolute...
Okay.
Yeah, I wouldn't go. So here's the thing. His concerts are probably cheaper. They're probably like between $30 and $50. So I would maybe consider it if it's like within an hour's drive. But to me, I'm like, I'm going to be sitting there and be like, okay, all right, we heard 20 of the same songs. So actually, this is the first artist I'm probably ever going to answer. I probably wouldn't go. And this is going to be one of the... I would assume you would go to their concert, would you?
For sure.
Oh, yeah.
For sure.
Interesting.
Yep.
This is the most unique one because I'm always like, oh, 100% we're going, I'm going. Brendon's like, no, I'm not going to go. But this is a little bit opposite. So.
Random thing here.
Yeah.
The Frey song I think maybe I would have thought of is How to Save a Life, even though I didn't
That's what it
include-
was. Yes, that's what it was. Yeah.
Did I include that? I didn't include that in my top 5.
And I
but
think
that's
I
the
had it. Oh, man, what did I have? I'm trying to think. Does it say where I had it there?
I don't see that. I just have my notes. I had Over My
I
Head
had
at
it
number one.
I
That
had it- I
that
had
might
it
have
at
been
number
your
3.
Overplayed. That might have been your
Yeah,
Overplayed.
I think that's what it was.
I
Over
don't
My
know.
Head was a play, and it was How to Save a Life. I had How to Save a Life at number 3, and it was over. I'm pretty sure it was Over My Head, the one I was thinking of. But yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
Anyways, it's a great throwback to what we were talking about earlier. Takeaways, Brendon. Let's talk about takeaways. I'll let you go first, and I'm gonna kind of
hmm
add my 3 cents, not 2, 3 cents in, and then we're going to talk about next artist and kick it to the next episode.
Yeah. Yeah, it's you have me reeling a little bit with kind of the way it like I agree with you that this band kind of has one sound that Radical Face kind of has one thing they're doing, but at the same time like I realize that I've listened to this band long enough and like them enough that I hear the differences in the music. So when I think of this like 15 like top 15 songs, if I go through and play all of those, like each one has a very distinct like sound profile to me, even though if I like was hearing them for the first time I think they'd all sound kind of similar because like I said I couldn't really differentiate the 3 albums of the family tree. They're kind of all the same thing, but when I get down to the song level I'm like, oh, there's the difference here. So all of that to say, this is, I think, one of those bands that just like, it's a personal band to me and it has a lot of meaning. And I'm really glad I got to do a deeper dive into their stuff. And I hadn't really looked up, him as a band before. So it was kind of cool learning some of the backstory and understanding kind of how that family tree, like trio of albums works and the storytelling aspect to that, which I really value. And yeah, it's a good mix of, like you say, electronic and folk and storytelling, which I think is kind of cool music, lyric stuff. So yeah.
Yeah, interesting. And kind of my takeaways on this, and I agree with a lot we're saying, and we've been talking about this whole episode, but it's just an interesting artist for me. I thought I would have enjoyed it more than what I did, but what really killed the vibe is what we've been talking about this whole episode is that, every single song sounded the same, and I just got bored, and that's basically what it was for me.
Yeah, I'd be interested if like Family Tree was one album and
Yeah.
then like the next album was very different or something. Like if it was
would've
Ghost,
helped,
one album
yeah.
of Family Tree,
Yeah.
and then maybe like a third album that was kind of that was like if the two EPs were the two main EPs were another album, and it was just 3 albums. I feel like your take would be different
It might be
because it wouldn't
just,
feel
like,
near so repetitive.
Yeah, it did, and that's what it was. It was kind of I had to power through. Honestly, I had to power through and listen to all their music because it got old so quick. But yeah, if you do look at my top 5, they're more unique songs. Yeah, so it was good. Like I said, I feel like he lacks a lot of range in his music, but I actually do like his top 5. Like, man, like Hard of Hearing, dude, that song is that's a great song here. So yeah, good episode. It is interesting, we do these episodes, Brendon, and I always do get a newfound appreciation for this artist. And my opinion of Radical Face has changed dramatically. I thought I liked him more than I did, and I really appreciate his pianos, the piano in it, the tambourine, just all this stuff that he has, and his lyric writing is absolutely phenomenal. I think he's a great artist. It's just the only thing is I just don't like his range, and it's a little bit too niche for me. So.
Yeah. No, that's understandable. Kind of like the same thing. And I am just interested on a side thing. Thinking of Hollow Tree or Hidden Hollow that came out in 2021. If that's like the type of stuff he's making now, I'm very interested to see what he
comes
continues
in the
to make.
Yep,
Yeah,
100%.
Yep.
All right, well, wrapping up this episode, we have an artist that is kind of well known, kind of not well known. I'm sure you've heard of his number 1 song, but we're gonna be doing for our next artist, August Anna. And the reason we're doing August Anna, he kind of fits our vibe, but also Brendon and me just saw him in concert 3 weeks ago today, actually. We were at the Owl City concert in Washington, D.C., and we didn't even actually know who was opening until this. We were talking to this person in line with us waiting to get in. She's like, I'm only here to see August Anna, not even here to see Owl City, which I was personally majorly offended on. But Augustana wrote, he has the song Boston, which is a really interesting one because I feel like the song got more popular than what he did. But yeah, we're going to be doing Augustana.
Yeah.
He has some absolute phenomenal music, and I am really excited to do him here. So yeah, we're covering Augustana on our next album, or our next album. Yeah, we're releasing an album, Brendon. We're covering Augustana on our next podcast episode, and we're really looking forward to it. So thanks for listening, and we'll catch you next time.